Hi, so what I got here are 4 lithium portable tire inflators. So what I'm going to go through are some of the features that you should look out for when you're purchasing these. So first off, these things are, no-name brands. So their durability is actually not that great. So I have this particular one that I use for 2-3 years and expect it to last 2-3 years. So this is the second one that I've gone through that only lasts 2-3 years. So my expectation when I'm buying these no-name brands that are pretty much all over Amazon is that I'm buying it for 2-3 years. Now what's handy about these lithium tire inflators is that you don't have to drag around this cord, this electrical cord, because they just operate basically battery, lithium battery wise. So you can see I powered it on and I'm going to push it once and then stop it. So basically it works without plugging in. Now it has this secondary where if your battery runs out, you could actually just use this normal cigarette lighter. But these days, not all cars actually even have a cigarette lighter. Not to mention some of your EVs. You don't want to you don't want to use the battery on the EV. So these are perfect. So the other thing about these is the second most important thing, other than the durability, is the reach in the core in the cord itself. So you can see that this particular one is only 12 inches, while if I stretch out the other ones, laying them side by side, they're twice as long. So keep that in mind. Look out for the ones that are 18 inches, 20 inches. So this particular one here is 18 inches. This particular one here is 20 inches. And this particular one is 12 inches. Now, the other thing about this is the type of nozzle that you have. So this one's a screw-on to the tire valve. And then this one is your classic, push it in and then depress, with a gasket here. So notice this one also had an auto shut off. So these all have an auto shut off for saving battery. But keep that in mind with this particular cord, the air valve cord, that first, the length, 12 inches, 18 inches, 20 inches. So pay attention to, getting that feature. And also the type of nozzle that you want to connect. So this is screw-on, while these are your basically compression. So that's that for these things. Now one thing I do want to show individually with each one of these, so I'm going to turn this on. So most of these you turn on by pushing and holding the button. So I'm going to push and hold the button, and this is going to turn on. And you'll notice that this battery meter does have a number. It tells you digitally versus the 5 meters that it has. So for example, this particular one, once again I hold and then it turns on. You'll notice the battery meter there versus a actual number indicator in the corner here. So keep that in mind. And same with this particular one. I hold, turn on. Now all of these actually have the preset at the bottom and then the current PSI or current reading on the top. So also keep that in mind. Make sure you have one that has that, the preset that you've set. Now all of these are also auto shut off. So make sure that they're all auto shut off, meaning or auto stop. So meaning that if I set this at 36 PSI, that it just stops automatically when it reaches 36 PSI when I'm inflating the tire. Now all of these also increases by 0.5. So you see I'm increasing the preset by 0.5 or decreasing it by 0.5. For example, all of these also have presets for a car, a bicycle, a motorcycle, scooter, So all of them have these. So let me show you that for this particular one. So this one has it for the units also. So it'll usually have 4 units, kilopascals, psi, bar, kilopascals, and then kilogram per centimeter squared. But also, holding, the modes. So once again, car, motorcycle. So just keep that in mind, a ball. So these all have presets. Now you notice there's a flashlight here. So let me just turn off the flashlight. There's modes for that. So all of these typically have a flashlight. Now this one is the best. And I'll have all of these in the description area of the video so you could get it. But I would recommend this particular one. The reason why is because the previous one I had, in terms of tire inflation capacity, is this one's a little bit more compact. And it's actually pretty light. So the thing about the battery capacity, you'll find that on the Amazon listings, it'll have 20,000 milliamp hours or 10,000 milliamp hours or 28,000 milliamp hours. Now all those are going to be basically exaggerated or in some cases misleading. So just get the biggest one you can get, because all of those listings are not dependable and basically very misleading. So I got this particular one that's the biggest capacity. So you could see out of all of these, this is the biggest one with the biggest battery. All of these other ones, from my experience with this, it could inflate up to 6 tires, probably at 5 or 6 extra PSI. So that's kind of the rating. Even though it says that it's going to be for 20 tire inflations, that is not true. So at best, via 100% charge, you'll get, 6, maybe 8 tire inflations out of it, but usually it's 6 for this size. For this particular one, you'll get 8 to 10 tire inflations, but once I use it, I'm gonna, recharge it right away. So that is the typical battery capacity that you're gonna get. So just keep that in mind. Let's see, with the cases. So the cases, this particular one comes with a hard case. I wouldn't be too wrapped up in the case itself. Usually it comes with a felt bag, which is enough. So you could see, your typical felt bag, it fits a battery there. Now, all of these recent ones will have a cigarette lighter backup. So if the battery itself runs out, you could pretty much, plug it into your car if you have a cigarette lighter. Some of the newer cars do not have that, but at least that's available as a battery backup if the lithium battery completely drains. They also come with a typical USB-C recharger. So I'll charge all of these, USB-C connector, and then I'll have your typical, ball adapters, tire inflation adapters, so that's just very typical. I think that's it. One thing I do want to mention is all of these will overheat. So when the air gets pushed out from this nozzle, what you'll hear is that, or what you'll feel is that the heat really accumulates. So all of these kind of have like a heat protector. So what I do is I try to give it a rest. So if I'm inflating a tire from 28 psi to 32 psi, after one tire, I'll let it cool down here, and then I'll do another tire, because I don't want this to heat up, even though it says here that there is a overheat protection on all of these. I just don't want to take the risk. I do want it to last long. So just keep that in mind with the overheating of the motor itself in these things. So I'm just going to turn each one of these on so you could get a feel for what you're dealing with. But you'll notice here also I want to go through the modes like I did before. So here is a ball. If I push on this, that's a separate one. This is a car, bicycle, scooter, ball, custom, and then back to the car again. And then I'm going to turn this on. You can hear. So once I have this on, I'm going to push lightly. So that's how this particular one sounds. And once again, if I hold, and so lots of times with these, the instruction really is to either push once and then depresso to cycle through it. So you notice I'm pushing once, cycling through it. But if I push and hold, like it's another mode, so you notice that now I'm moving through and cycling through the units. So I'm pushing and holding, kilopascals pushing and holding, kilogram per centimeter squared, pushing and holding back to PSI. So keep that in mind that usually, when you push the buttons, there's a long push and then there's a short push. Basically a push, which is the short push, and then the push and hold, which is the long. So keep that in mind. Now, second, turn this on. And, once again, cycling through the different modes. Usually it's the same concept. Cycling through. Now, once again, if I wanted to cycle through the PSI, push and hold, you'll notice it's the same functionality. Very typical. And now I'm going to turn it on. You can hear the noise. Turn it off. Now, saying similarly with this particular one, turning it on, push and hold to turn it on. And now that it's on, this one has a separate mode to cycle through the mode, and then it has a separate one to cycle through basically the units. So now I'm at PSI. I'm going to push once quickly. Push and turn it off. Push and hold to turn it off completely. But that's really it. So let me do a demo now, video demo on the tire and a bicycle tire for this particular one, and you can see how it actually works. But yeah, that's really the tips that I want to show. Those are the features you want to concentrate on. Once again, all of these are no-name brands, so they're very unpredictable, but I would say durability expected to be 2.5 years of use. I used this like maybe 50 times and then it died, but that's about 2.5 years of use. And then this you want to make sure the proper length that you have, the type of screw-on that you particularly prefer, whether you prefer the analog or the metered for the battery indicator. The battery size itself. So my recommendation is get the biggest battery that you can. Each one of these usually do have a particular flashlight. So this one has a flashlight, and then it has the red beeping, stuff like that. So, those are usually standard. Carrying case, take that into consideration, that there is a backup, battery use, corded alternative. But that's really it. Those are the features I want to focus on, and I hope this helps, and please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. So this bicycle tire here is completely flat. So you can see it's completely flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on here. So I'm going to long press and hold. And I'm going to do the preset. Right now it's on the car. So let me just bring it up here. So right now it's on the car. So I'm going to push it, toggle to the bicycle. And this tire here is 40 psi to 60 psi. I'm going to set it at 48. So I'm going to push up 48. So it goes by, half psi's. So I'm going to set it to 48 here. Maybe 48 and a half. So see it's 48 and a half here. And now I'm going to unhook or take this out, turn this, and once again this is a screw on, so just gonna screw it on easily like so. Alright, so this is nice and snug now. So once it's turned on, you can see how flat this tire is. And I'm going to turn it on simply by pushing it. You can see this is turning on here. And there was an auto shut off there. So, just to show you, giving it the squeeze test. So this is nice and snug. So you notice there was an auto shut off. And now I'm gonna, unscrew this. So that's why I gave it that extra, half a pound, is because of the screwing off. And that's really it there. So there you go. Next test is the car tire. So I'm going to do the car tire now. But that's really it. I hope this helps, and please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. So what you've noticed is after inflating that car tire, it's now at 94% the battery life. So for car tires, this does just do 4 tires. That's probably a difference of 5 psi. So you're inflating a tire 5-6 psi, that will probably drain this entire battery. So just keep that in mind, that this inflates about basically 4 tires. Despite what it says it'll do like 20 tires. That's probably not true. So you could see that it took up 4%. So let me long press this to turn it back on. And it does about 4% for this particular tire, bike tire alone. So all right, so that's kind of like the battery capacity that you notice. Yeah, so yeah, that's all I have to say about the capacity.